Hey there, I'm Luke the Cookin camper. Here is the cutest dog on earth, Zena the Glamper camper, and she is ready to tell you about some of her trees today. Okie dokie. So this video is all about fruit trees. So I'm just gonna walk you through each one of them that we have, the pros and cons, how they're doing. Now this is our lemon tree. Now this, some of you might have seen some of my trimming videos, and some people have commented and they're like, no, not the lemon tree. But to be honest, this thing produces crazy lemons. They're huge, we get tons of them, but the shape, I have just never been able to create a shape that I like. It grows really wild and crazy, and once or twice a year I like super chop it back, like really do a hard trim and prune, whatever you want to call it, and then within a year it's back to being super crazy. I mean, and I do not know exactly what size or anything this will be. This tree was here when we moved in, but for instance, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this. Look at how tall this branch is. This tree is ginormous. And I'll chop this branch off and it'll grow right back. This thing has no problems at all with stamina of growth. Now these, I like to keep my trees pretty clean around the base. Especially, this is Zena's, we call it her poop tree. This is where she goes potty. So I like to keep this bottom area clear of any branches, just so I can easily harvest the fruit, and just so Zena has kind of a clear little area. Now over the years, this spot has become a little strange looking, just because I've been trying to get the shape that I want. But honestly, the best part about this tree is I can trim it like crazy, I can prune it like crazy, chop off whole branches at a time, and really nothing has phased this tree. I mean, it's really pretty amazing how hard I trim this, how many big branches I chop off, and every single year it has no problem growing the same amount or double the branches that I chopped off. So overall, I probably wouldn't have planted it myself just because of how big and wild it is. And if you have a lemon tree, you probably know this. It is so hard to actually consume a tree's worth of lemons. And then the second tree we're going to talk about is just right next to our big monstery lemon tree. This is a Buddha hand tree. Now, we have not gotten any fruit off of this, but it is growing. All of this dark green at the top is new growth. Now, I have noticed quite a few of the leaves getting crunchy on the ends, but we have had a super hot, long, sunny summer. So I think that that's just kind of why some of those are crispy a little bit. The leaves on this one smell really good. And just like the lemon tree, this has been growing a lot. Actually, these just popped up, these three, within the last, like, I don't even know, couple of weeks. But these I really want to take off because I can't remember I found a term for it once. But if you let a branch like that grow on the tree, I probably shouldn't have done that. But if you let a branch grow like that on the tree, it can create a really tight wedge in between the tree and the trunk. And apparently that is just not something that is very good for the tree. It can turn into some problems later on down the road. But like I said, I'm kind of harsh sometimes. So I need trees and plants that can kind of deal with some of the not so good but needed trimmings and just environmental things. I really love all the new growth. This one is actually in a pot, as you can see. So eventually I will chop the bottom of the pot, and under all these rocks, there's pavers like these. So eventually I will remove the pavers under this, and the roots will just go like straight down in. Now, another thing to note about the Buddha hand tree is actually, and I didn't even think about this until right now, this actually gets the least amount of water out of all of my fruit trees, out of all of them. All it has is a bubbler head right here, and then it has, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, I think I kind of buried it. It has a loop of soaker tubing. So I know soaker tubing sounds like a lot, but it really does not get a lot of water. And you guys, tree number 3 at first was really, really sad, but holy cow, I'm so excited. So right here, obviously you can't see a tree. So we had a phenomenal fig tree, absolutely gorgeous. It's by the brand Monrovia. It had a beautiful shape. I mean, it's really, really small. It wasn't even as tall as the purple prickly pear yet. Absolutely loved it. Well, we went on vacation for a while, and it got significantly hot while we were gone. While we were gone, I failed to turn up the irrigation. So the entire thing, I did get a couple of fruits off of it, but the entire thing totally dried up, and I was so sad. I thought it was dead, but you know, I'm like, I have faith. I have faith that God can revive this tree, and I'm like, dear God, please revive my phenomenal fig tree. Amen. And holy cow, you guys, do you see that little green? Where is it? Right there? Do you see it? And I actually came out here, I recovered it up with rocks because I uncovered it. Look! Oh no, I just broke off one of the leaves. Okay, we got to start being more careful. But look at that. The tree is still alive. So I am going to, you can see it had a number. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It had a number of just kind of like oblong branches. And so I am definitely hoping that that guy comes back to life. Now here is another relatively sad story. This is a holiday avocado tree, and you can see the pole goes all the way up to here. This year we've just had a really tough summer. It has been crazy hot, crazy sunny, and even though this tree is actually under a Mexican fan palm tree, it got totally roasted and toasted all the way up to the top. So at first, and it actually, from right here, I actually had this in a previous video, the tree like curved down. So it was actually about, I don't know, I'd say 5 times this length when I first planted it. The very top died, so I chopped it. And then all the way down to here, it was totally roasted and toasted. But look, after I cut it, a whole bunch of new growth started to pop out. So I am still, I don't know. You can see it's like turning this weird yellow color, and I don't know. It's just a strange one. I've never grown an avocado before successfully. And like I said, this is a holiday avocado. So we'll just see what happens. I mean, most gardening is just an experiment. But we love growing things that we can eat. So we are excited to see if this one turns into anything. And next in line, looks kind of strange right here, but it's actually a really cool story. So I'm not sure if any of you have ever heard of rootstocks, but it's like a trunk that's called the rootstock, and then they grow a different tree on top of the trunk, and it's just supposed to make a better tree overall. Well, this leaf, this tree, is what we purchased. We got it from Costco. It's like a something sat mandarin orange or something, I'm not sure. And slowly the mandarin orange has been dying, and this has been coming out of the rootstock. This is a flying dragon orange, and even though it's totally not what we bought, I am very excited to see it grow, and I am super excited to taste one of the oranges once we get it. Now this area as a whole might look a little bit crazy. So here is the mandarin orange. with the flying dragon orange. Right behind that, we have a dwarf pomegranate tree. And as you can see, I need to come out here and harvest. We've got lots of delicious looking pomegranates on there. Now, according to the internet, most people say that this is solely ornamental. They do not eat the fruits, but we have eaten the fruits and they taste like a little bit different than a normal pomegranate, but I don't know. I mean, I still like them. I'm still going to eat them. Now, if you pivot right back here, and this tree is actually kind of hidden. So directly behind, you can see right down in there, it looks like there is a tree with some pineapples inside of a pot. So that pot is actually there just to raise it up a little bit. I didn't want it like all the way down in at soil level. So that pot has no bottom and the roots can go straight through. And this is our dwarf mulberry tree. This thing is growing like absolute crazy. This is actually one of my top 5 performing plants like of the entire summer. This thing is going absolutely nuts. We still have not had any fruit or blooms or anything on it, but the tree itself has already almost quadrupled in size since I planted it. And let me walk back here and show you guys just how thick the trunk is. The trunk, oh my gosh, it's going absolutely crazy. I mean, this thing is sturdy too. I mean, this trunk has at least tripled in girth since I planted it. So this thing, I'm very excited to see it start growing. Now, I have trimmed this one pretty hard. So this, obviously on this side, that would be our neighbor's yard. So I don't want any of the branches to go over. So I came through and I just chopped all the way down off the back. And it seems to have not minded at all. So it's just sending out a whole bunch of new growth. Really, really a beautiful plant. Then, we're already looking at it. This is our ponderosa lemon tree. And it is the same exact story as our flying dragon orange tree. This used to be a lime tree. The lime tree totally died one summer. So I chopped it all the way down and it got a couple suckers or a couple branches growing off the bottom of the trunk. So you can see this was the lime tree. Then this started to grow and I'm like, okay, let's see what it does. Well, this was actually the rootstock. So it was a ponderosa lemon rootstock and they had grafted a lime onto the top. So now the lime tree is gone. The ponderosa lemon is thriving. Now, do I know if this is going to last forever? Like I said earlier, you don't really want branches to grow right up the trunk like that. So maybe down the line, we might have some issues with that. I'm not really sure. But as of right now, I am just grateful that we've got this crazy, fabulous growing tree. Now this year, or this past season, however you want to say it, we actually didn't get any fruit or blooms. So I'm really hoping that this next round, we're going to get some more ponderosa lemons. They are ginormous, way bigger than a normal lemon, and they're covered in lumps and bumps, but they're actually really good. And here's another sad one. And I didn't want to leave the I don't want to call them bad trees, but I really wanted to include the trees that are dying or dead or look terrible, because you need to know as a gardener that not everything is going to turn out. Not everything is going to survive. And so help me goodness, if you want a yard that, I mean, maybe you don't think my yard's beautiful, but if you want a yard even a fraction of this beautiful, you're going to have to be prepared for stuff to die. You're going to have to be prepared for stuff to change. I mean, just think about the mandarin tree and the lime tree. I mean, a lot of people could say, oh, it died. I'm so sad. Let's rip out the trunk. You know what I say? We're going to let it grow. We're going to see what happens. And you just have to be ready for those changes, and stuff is going to evolve. But so this sad tree is literally my favorite fruit tree. This was a kumquat tree, and I got some really good seasons out of it. A couple seasons. I got and it produces fruit, like not the whole year, but you'll harvest and then you'll come back and harvest more. For a while, I was just coming out here and picking them off and eating them. This tiny little tree actually produced quite a few kumquats. I mean, enough to share. The top looks really terrible. I mean, there are some tiny little green parts, but they're like totally brittle. But I just did the scratch test right here. I feel like you guys probably can't see on camera. Let me get a little bit closer. So right here, I just did that scratch test and there's a little bit of green back there. So that's one way to see if your trees are still alive, is just scratch them. See, I feel like the camera is not giving this what I need it to give, but it is green. So I think what I might end up doing is somewhere giving it a chop and seeing what happens. Now the next two trees I'm going to show you, they get tons of fruit every single year. They are oranges. We think that they're navel oranges. And one interesting thing is I do trim these normally multiple times a year, but these were here when we moved in. And in the 6 years or so that we've lived here, they really have not put on like height. This one, once it gets to a certain height, it just kind of the limbs start to kind of fall over. And this one, this is the first height it's put on since we've lived here in 6 years. So since we've been here for the 6 years, it has not gotten taller than this until this last couple of months. It has grown these 2 branches right here. But yeah, I mean, even this small one, like I said, I don't know the exact variety. I mean, the tree looks small, but it gives lots of big fruit. The other thing I don't do, actually, that's a lie. If I decide to trim while there's fruit on the tree, which I have done before, then I guess you could call that thinning. But I don't like purposefully thin fruit on any of my trees. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. I don't really care. It's my yard, I'm the boss. So I don't thin them. Now, like on the lemon tree, I'll have harvests where there's so many lemons that the branches are weighed down to the ground and the tree has just been growing too much that year. So at that point I'll prune it, but it's not to thin the fruit, it's to make the tree smaller, if that makes any sense. So right next to these 2 trees is my pomegranate tree. This tree is absolutely glorious. I do have 1 fruit on it, which is interesting. There's only 1 bloom. I can't remember how long ago it bloomed and it turned into a fruit, but there's no others on this tree, which is interesting because last season or last year, I actually got quite a number of fruit off this tree. One thing to note about the pomegranate tree is it will lose all of its leaves once a year. Deciduous, I think that's what it means. And at first it like totally freaked me out. I had no idea it was going to do that, but it's just in its natural like life cycle or whatever. So you got to let it happen. Eventually this tree is going to get like 80 feet tall. Am I going to let it get that tall? I don't know. Am I going to like top it, or I'm not sure. I am just going with the flow on this one. It's definitely my largest at fully grown sized tree. Now this one, just like my other trees, like the Buddha hand and the lemon, I like to cut all those off. I want to do that, but this tree is literally out to eat my soul. Every time I get rid of those, not only does it look really terrible down there because it's like a big, like ugly, bumpy stump looking thing, but it's like they come back with more vengeance. So, you know, I don't know. God is telling me that the tree wants to grow that way. So I'm just going to let it grow that way. And I mean, am I going to love it? I don't know. But I'm just going to let it grow into like a bush. Right now, obviously, I don't like that it's a little bush at the bottom and then branches and trees. But that's because I have limbed up all of these for my first kind of vision that was just like branches growing up. But I'm going to let it turn into a bush and fill in that area. So, yeah, that's how that one's going. Right over here, we've got 3 more trees. Mexican key lime, no fruit this year, but it is growing well. It gets a little bit more water than the Buddha hand tree. And there is a little bit of browning of the leaves, but not like a lot of them. Right next to that, we have our Australian finger lime. Got this one at Costco, and it is doing good. interestingly enough, is I don't think it blooms. I never noticed any blooms, but the fruit come like almost directly out of the branches, which is really interesting. So looks like I do need to come through here and trim out a couple of dead branches, but last season we actually got a couple of limes off of it, and I don't really know. They were kind of dry on the inside, so I'm not sure about this one, but we're going to keep researching it and keep obviously letting it live here because it looks absolutely freaking beautiful. And now for the last tree. And this is another sad one, guys. It's called like a Nametz pineapple guava or something. Here's the trunk. Sadly, this one bit the dust. Now it's actually quite the story. There's a dead cat buried under here. So check out that video. We gave the cat a nice little burial. But so eventually I'll be replacing this with something else. So long story is I got too ambitious, planted it in this soil. No way to give it irrigation. You can see the ground is dug up right here. I tried. That's another video. Long story short, it died. It's kind of my fault. But like I said, not everything goes as planned. And when you want a garden, you're going to have to expect that to happen sometimes. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to give us a big thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit that bell so that you see the next time me and Zena upload a new video. Get out and enjoy what God has given us, and get out and enjoy nature and food as much as we do. Have a great one.